Junie Poonie, welcome to Tea with Anne-Marie. Thank you very much for coming to have a cuppa with us. Can you just start by introducing your business and what it looked like pre-COVID-19?
Very different. So I'm June, or Junie Poonie, as my mum used to call me, and is what my business name is now. I call myself a creator of Utter Loveliness. So I do wedding stationery and normal stationery, as in cards, greeting cards and prints. But then I also do lots of wedding styling, managing, and also corporate events. So before lockdown life, it was very, very different. I would be running around literally 100 miles an hour, smoke constantly coming out of somewhere where it shouldn't be coming out of, and going from one thing to the next, always constantly tick, 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 ticking. And even up until the point of lockdown happening, I think it was announced on the Sunday, I was due to have a huge corporate event on the Friday just before, which was cancelled. And then literally 1 2 weeks later, and 1 2 weeks later from there. So they were literally just pulled. Punk. I like to work with lots and lots of small independents. I think it's, for me, being a Coventry girl, I like to try and keep it as local as possible. So even though it's working with big, massive corporate people, I do like my photographer's a local girl, my florist is local. So for me, it was a case of these girls had already booked in. They were due to be paid. I was due to be paid. But sadly, obviously, what happens is the events get pulled and the accounts get frozen.
Yeah.
And I'm left like, oh. So it's been a rocky road, I won't lie. It's been really like, oh my God. But I have a saving grace, which is also, obviously, I do all my stationery, which has really, really kind of helped, I suppose, because
it's you ticking over in the interim.
Yeah, but it's also kept me ticking over mentally as well, because let's be honest, we have to be honest. I mean, I've just done an Instagram story saying, oh, I'm just getting dressed. I'm not. I've got out of my pyjamas, and I don't normally sit in my pyjamas all day, but I had some new ones on and I thought it was great. And I've put a hoodie and chunky bottoms on because it's lockdown life, isn't it? And, you know, you can be dressed smart from the top up, but I just thought, no, just be comfy. It's
from the waist down, who knows?
Exactly, yeah. Let's not go there.
So at what point, because obviously there was talk, everyone knew COVID was around, and there was talk of lockdown for a little bit earlier. So at what point did you start trying to plan for lockdown, or did you end up being quite reactionary to it?
It's quite hard, because I think we could see it coming, but no one knew how quick it would come. So even with regards to, like, say, the events that I was doing, one of the events that I was doing, even though it was huge, it was only an intimate one in the sense of the number of people that were going to be there, and we actually thought we'll still be able to go ahead with it. There was nothing to say you couldn't. It was a Friday before we went into lockdown, but the decision was made, really. People were pulling out, and you could just see uncertainty, really. For me, it's been quite hard, because even now, we're 100 days in, wedding industry, it's like, come on, is somebody going to tell us what we can do? And I did, again, a post the other day about, are we nearly there yet? I feel like that child in the back of the car, are we nearly there yet? Because some people see us coming through, whereas with the wedding industry, we haven't even got there yet, because yes, there's the light at the end of the tunnel that you can now get married and have 30 people there, but you then can't have them at a reception. That is literally solely for the ceremony. So it's really hard in that sort of sense. There was no planning. I don't know if, fair play, if people could plan to see what was going on. But I think with me, thankfully, previously to going into lockdown, I'd looked at my planning in the sense of, yes, I've got my business side of it where it's all the events and it's the Junie Poonie events, but I then do have my Junie Poonie, which is like my Utter Loveliness, my cards and my prints and things. And for the last 2 years, it's how long I've been self-employed. I've always said I need to get my website done, and I need to, like, play around with the products that I had. So what it's allowed me to do is stand back, evaluate, look at it, and really put a strategy into place to attack it. And it has allowed me to do that. So my new website's been launched. I've reduced the number of products that I'm doing, so I've got a better quality, rather than lots and lots of, like, confusing options for people. So it's been good in that sense. But
so it's given you breathing space that you probably wouldn't have allowed yourself.
Not even that I wouldn't have allowed. And this is the thing, it's like, my husband was like, I can't believe how fast and the pace that we both work. So obviously I'm in the events and in like hospitality, and he is in rugby. So we would literally constantly be like, I don't know, not that we hardly seen each other, but it was busy. We were always busy. And now I look back and think, crikey, was that even sustainable to do what we were doing? So it's been really good in that sense to allow people to look back and evaluate how were we working, and actually ways that we can change it. Like now, obviously, this isn't work. We're having a cup of tea and, you know, having a good old catch up. But some people would see that as work, it's a call and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's just knowing that you can use your time a lot more wisely and not feel guilty about doing things not within that structure. And I found that so much better.
So how do you think you're going to change moving forward then? Sure.
Well, for now, there is still no weddings and events anyway. So obviously, I'm talking with lots of my corporate clients at the moment about, yes, they're still going to need to engage with their customers. They're still going to need to engage with certain brands. And a lot of them are like business to business. And then there's obviously like there's passengers and like general customers that are coming in, as well as the business to business. So it's ways of trying to get them to engage where it's not necessarily human touch. So it's, can we do things that isn't just sending out a key ring? Can we send something out that's actually it's going to be useful to them? So it's like a touchless, you know, like a pen with a stylus on it, so you can touch bits and pieces without it being like the whole spread. And it's just trying to look at ways in which to bring people together still, while we're still together but still apart. That's the way that we're looking at the moment. So
get that connection in those events in a new way.
Yeah, new experience. I mean, a big thing at the moment, obviously, events for me, I was all about my strapline is I bring passion and personality to events, and also it's about not being afraid to be extraordinary, so actually try new things. So I was always doing that kind of thing with my events, so they wasn't your general going in and you sit up straight back with regards to corporate events. I was doing speed dating with huge massive corporate people, and it was going down really, really well. So it's that kind of thing, and it's also just allowing them, it's the experience. Whereas now what lots of people are talking about, obviously there's an experience of what you feel you touch when you're at there, but the new thing now is the insperience. So it's about bringing that into your environment, because actually, will offices be around? Will there be big huge call centres? So it's trying to make sure that the experience then becomes an experience rather than something that's external that you need to go to. You can actually have it in. So we might have had to do events in boxes and let it be that it's a big massive.
And do you think that that'll take quite a change in thinking? That'll, you know, it's going to really disrupt the industry quite considerably, forcibly so from this whole scenario. Do you think there might be a negative side to being separate as well?
I think there'll be a massive negative side to it, because I think you can see the impact on people already. It's been 100 days, and you know, people are just craving that human touch. And for me, that's what it's all about. It's, you know, you work with people, with students. Before that, you was in the hotel industry. So it's, for me, it's all about that. I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger. Even when I go to corporate events, even when I'm meeting people, I'm not a shake a hander. I'm a hugger. And that's when I know it's either we're going to work well or we're not. And I've been known to literally have people where somebody couldn't turn up to an event, to a meeting, and she was like, do you mind going, obviously, and just explain that you're the events lady? I was like, yeah, no problem. She was like, is the chief of this company? I was like, yeah, no problem. I literally rang her up afterwards. I was like, oh, he's high-fiving me, hugging me. She was like, are you joking? Like, literally, we bowed. I was like, no chance. If he wants an event Junie Poonie style, he'll get an event Junie Poonie style. So I do think that will have a massive impact, I won't lie, because there's one thing getting a lovely big shizzle in a box, but actually it's that, like I say, the human touch and bringing people together. You just can't beat it, and it will come. You know, I do think I'm positive with that. It will come. It's just, are we nearly there yet, Anne-Marie? Are we nearly there yet?
I feel like we might be a way off at the moment.
Well, this is the thing, and that's it. I think, let's be honest, and that's where it's good to be realistic about it, because one of the big things that I've done throughout all of this, I'm like my mother's daughter. So basically, if you think of a party and there's always that annoying old lady or whoever going around with a bin bag clearing up the tables, that was my mum. And I used to think, oh my God, Mum, will you give it a rest? I'm now that person that just wants to help. So I'm a helper. So when all of this happened with the whole lockdown thing, I did go into water, like, what can I do to help people? So I looked at the wedding industry, obviously, which is where I'm at. and I spoke with Hitched and You and Your Wedding, which is like, it was the biggest UK magazine, but even now that's sadly gone nowhere to be found, bless them.
Yeah.
And I put it out there that I would happily do free digital save the dates or save the new dates for people that were cancelling their weddings. And that wasn't just for my brides and grooms. They would have that as an automatic service. This was just opening it up to anybody and everybody. And literally I emailed them last week to say that we're just hitting 1,000 now. So it's being like, oh my God. And
Wow.
when you look at that, that is a lot. And that's only just what I'm doing. So it's
That's
having a massive impact.
generous offer for people as well, to give them a beautifully designed, you know, they didn't have to just type an email out and blind copy.
And that's what I didn't want. I didn't want it to be that people had that. It's not then just one conversation, is it? Well, I just wanted to bring a little bit of loveliness together where it gave them a bit of breathing space. So they had a choice of 4 designs and they were able to choose which one they wanted, give me the information that would go in, and then I would literally, technology, WhatsApp it to them or email it to them. So they could then send it in one send to everybody to minimise that whole, it's heartache, isn't it? That, you know, they're broken hearted, they want to get married. But I've literally had numbers from all over the world that I'm thinking, what's this code? But and it's lovely. It's been a nice way to connect with people. But I did do it on the stance that I didn't want to do a data capture. I didn't want it to be that this is a marketing thing for me. For me, this was my way of trying to cope with what the hell was going on. What can I do? You know, I've mentioned previously that my little boy's type 1 diabetic, so I couldn't go out and help in the community. He was off school already. So for me, in the sense of the wedding industry, I could box that and think, it's what I do for a living. It's hours, it's my time, and that's fine. I'm happy to do that. I didn't think there'd be 1,000, but every time Boris would make an announcement, I'd be like, here we go. And literally just go. And I still have some in my inbox. I think, oh my crikey, I've got to get them done. So that was my way of working with like the wedding kind of thing. And then when it came to my actual customers, as in my general customers that have been with me for years and years and years, for birthday cards, Christmas cards, whatever it is that they want, I wanted something that they could kind of, it sounds awful, this is history. We're making history. So I did some really cool prints, the Lockdown Lovers prints, which was all personalised, and also like the quarantine and also the like isolation. So it's just an option for people to be able to get something where they can remember this whole period by, basically. And then the last thing that I did was, it sounds really, I probably sound really naive when I say this, but I didn't realise I knew how bad COVID was, but it's the impact it was having on people when they had loved ones leaving the house but then not returning. So obviously I've loved and lost, my mum's not here anymore, but we had a real lovely journey with my mum that we were able to do that, and we could give her everything that we knew she wanted in terms of like a beautiful goodbye, whereas there were people that a friend's granddad went to hospital, never came back. But it's when she said that they couldn't even put his slippers on in the coffin that it kind of like, it did break me a little bit, and I thought, what can I do? So I spoke to our hospital, obviously, University Hospital Coventry in Warwick, or Coventry University Hospital, and I spoke with the ICU unit there to find out what could I do. And initially my thoughts were I wanted something to, you know, for the when they passed away, because you didn't realise how big it was going to be. You could see this thing going on at the NEC and all these big Nightingale hospitals, but we worked out that in the end I created and donated 500 cards that were specifically from the intensive care staff. So anytime anybody was admitted into hospital, into the intensive care unit, they were sent a really nice personalised card saying, we'll look after your loved one, they're in safe hands. And so for me, I just thought that's, again, I couldn't go and volunteer and help in the hospital, but that was my way of trying to give a little bit back, really. And then for the staff, I think there was 200. I just did 200 prints that they could pick from, just to give them a little boost after a long shift. So you know, they're the only ways that I could physically think that I could help. And everyone's trying to do their own way, and that was my way. It kept me busy mentally, physically, and just kept me going. And it's only now really that I'm starting to try and think, right, now what? Now what?
Well, I think volunteering is best achieved when you use your skill set. If you're trying to volunteer and do something that you can't do, you're not really helping. Mental health and motivation is as important as we've experienced. Really, everybody was a bit blasé about mental health previously, as I think realizing that it's a serious, as serious.
It's huge, and this is, it's even things like, obviously I've got a little boy who's 12 going on 13, and this whole homeschooling. Really? Let's be honest, I used to teach, but I'm not a teacher of science. I can tell him how to get out of an airplane safely, and I can tell him how great customer service
that's a good life skill, let's be honest.
Just hope. But no, it's, so we went through so many different ways to try and make it work for us, because it's like you say, it is all about mental health. And for us, we both worked in, my husband still works in education, but we both worked in education. We get that it's important, but actually for us, we came together as a little team, and we were like, the most important thing in this is that we all come out healthy and happy, and that we learn from it. So for me, the key things we've got him doing is his maths and his English, out and outright, and then anything else he can pick up that's not going to cause any distress. So it's those kind of things, and we've tried to do it. Initially we were trying to do a bit every day, and then it became a case of let's arm wrestle who's doing what, and it was a no-go. So now we've worked it out that a Monday and a Tuesday, full on, 9:30 till 3:30, he's sat down and he's working. And actually he works really hard because he knows the time scales, and he knows then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday he's off.
Fair enough.
So that's how we've tried to
manage it. The same amount, because they recommend just a few hours a day. So if you do it in the
I think you're doing more. Yeah, I think, because I'm a bit like that. I used to work before I went self-employed here, and I would do 3 days a week rather than 5 days a week, because I could get more done in that time. And I think being a bit creative as well, I like to work to a deadline and it be more like, and he's very like that. So he's had like commendations now from school since doing it that way with his workload. So I think it's obviously working for him, it's working for us, and he's smiling and happy, and that's all we can all you can ask for in lockdown, I suppose.
Most important. So now things are easing, I guess. On the events side, you still can't plan anything.
No,
really, I'm guessing you're there's no point even starting to think about stuff until restrictions are lifted.
Yeah, and in my heart of hearts, I honestly think we're looking at January as a minimum. I think if I'm trying to be realistic, and that's the thing, I am really realistic with it. So when I've got brides and grooms or happy couples or misters and misters coming to me saying we want to move it to such and such a date, I will happily accommodate it, but I'll also be really honest and say you need to look at the bigger picture. You're moving it from April to September. Is September going to be viable? It's not. And actually, will you want your granny or your vulnerable friend in that environment? Because I don't think that they're going to be what they used to be. And that's what's a little bit, well, it's not a little bit sad, it's very sad. They're not going to be, both weddings and events aren't going to be what they have been for a long, long time. So it's working out how to do that. So obviously an outdoor wedding is going to be a lot easier. It's the whole bubbles. You still need so many within a bubble. You only allowed so many households. And I think obviously the wedding industry and the hospitality industry is really, it has been massively, massively hit. And I work in both. Ta-da!
So are you therefore focusing on the card side and making different and bigger plans with that then to kind of expand? Because at the end of the day, you need to pay your bills. I mean, these aren't just hobbies for you. These are your job and income. So you can't say, oh, that's right, half of it's gone.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like at the beginning, my little boy was like, come on, but think of how many you've got next year. You're going to be really rich. And I was like, Lachlan, because I'm not being paid this year to be really busy next year. And being really busy next year means I then can't have the couples that wanted to book in with me for next year, book in for next year. So he was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, ultimately I'm working for a year almost for free, because what we can't get paid for now, we're having to do next year, which is obviously 2020's wages in 2021. So it will have a big impact. It's been good for me in the sense of it's really brought me back to my roots as to what I do. And it's allowed me to reconnect with not just my wedding and events couples. I mean, I have split my like my Instagram and my social media now so that it's very much weddings and events are on one page. There'll be a slithering of it within my print side of things, but it's just trying to really nail it down to like my customers basically. But with the cards and things, I've never had a chance to sit back and look at what I was doing, how I was doing it. And so it's really allowed me to get really like business minded, I suppose, in the sense of I've been able to look back, reevaluate and really, really drill down what's what and what do people need. This is the thing. So like one of the biggest things that I've done, which I was due to do September, October time, thinking, oh, I'll get them ready for Christmas, is a pack of cards. But actually people need those now, because it's lovely in a sense, because it has brought people back to the old-fashioned handwrite a card and send it in the post, and I love that. I've always been a bit of a stationery squeeze, shall we say. You'll always find me in paper chasers on my stroke in the paper, and so it's nice to get back to that. But I have found that things like anything that you can do to try and help says me with a black bag at the party. Anything I can do to help is what I do, and that's how it's really, really helped me being able to do these Poonie packs of 15 cards that are for any occasion, and they've just literally flew out, thankfully. Thankfully, because you've got to sell a lot of cards to get the same amount of money that you'd make from a wedding. Let's be really honest.
Yeah.
No.
They're not that comparable when it comes to income.
No, this is it. It's like big wedding, little card, but the little cards are keeping this the roof on our heads.
But I mean, hopefully people will remember what you've done, though you didn't do it, you know, you were doing it altruistically. Hopefully they will remember and go, oh, that girl made that beautiful print for me, I'll go to her cards. I mean, you know, hopefully they'll come back round to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think a lot of it is customer service, and well, the big thing now is huge chains are dropping like flies, and actually is this now the time again for the boom in independence? You know, I never ever want to shop, I'll categorically say that outright. I'm happy in the little studio that I had built at the bottom of the garden, but it's nice to see that people are really trying to support local. So that in itself, and I think it's always been a case of people buy from people, but I think people are really connecting with the brands at the moment. And you do see a big trend in the sense of people wanting to buy direct from the brand rather than going on a third party site where you can look and swoon on the likes of Etsy or not on the high street. You find a lot of people then come direct saying, do you do it direct? Which is actually really lovely, because they're looking out for you in the sense of, you know, we were due to be out in Greece. I had a big huge wedding in Greece in May, and when we've rebooked, rather than booking on booking.com or wherever, I've gone direct to the hotel to say, look, can I book with you, because you're going to get that little bit more because you're not having to pay. And I'm doing that from a big point of view in terms of a hotel, but people are doing that with cards and gifts, and I think that there's a big drive for that at the minute because people just want to try and help. So
it does feel, on Instagram anyway, it does feel like people are going to independents and sort of actively, whereas, you know, you might, for a book that you wanted to go, I'll just get it on Amazon.
Yes.
So
yeah, totally.
Going to those independent bookshops or other stuff and making
trying to do their bit, because people are, you know, they're conscious that they want to do their little bit, and people have been, you know, they're watching what they're spending, so when they are spending, they want to spend it wisely, and actually realizing that, you know, somebody down the road's got their own little knitting shop and they might be able to get something for somebody. And so it has brought that community feel kind of together as well.
So what do you hope post-COVID business will look like?
Oh, I just want my weddings and my happy couples back. Do you know what? In a way, I am a hopeless romantic, and I just think in time, as quickly as it came, and it feels like it's an eternity at the minute, it will return. And the thing is, you know, it's really corny, but love is patient. So things like weddings, people are happy to wait. It might not be the wedding that they wanted or what they thought they wanted, but I'm all about what's meant for you won't pass you by. So actually it could be that this was meant for everybody. So I just hope and have my fingers, toes and my crossed that actually it all just returns to normal, of some form of normality, as quickly as it came, really, because there is only so long that you can stay sustainable for. And, you know, I'll be honest, things like the government grants and things I wasn't eligible for. So I've literally been in a storm without a lifeboat or a life jacket, even though I was cabin crew. You'd think I would have a life jacket at least, but no, I didn't have a life jacket. So my biggest thing is I don't want to really weather this storm and literally swam and treaded water when needed, to then all of a sudden just have it pulled from under your feet. So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about that, but then my mentality won't let me worry about that until I need to worry about it, because I just think if you wallow, you're sitting still. Don't wallow, keep swimming. So
make it happen if you
Yeah.
focus on the negative, I think. Anyway.
Yeah,
You can
totally.
focus on the
Yeah, it's all about
positive,
your mindset.
more likely to happen.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, totally. And I just think as well, it's like contagious, isn't it? You spread what you're giving out, basically. A bit like the coronavirus, really, I suppose. But you spread, so PC, but you know, what you give out, you get back, I kind of think. So yeah, I do hope, and I have high hopes that it will return. It will be different, but I want to get back to being with people. I love just being with people.
Well, I think everything you've given out over Corona should imply that everything's going to come back for you. And I know that the awards that you've won show that you're the kind of person that, you know, people want to work with. So
yeah,
I think and hope everything will be okay.
well, hope. Yes, thank you. I'll take that. I feel like I'll take that. Yeah. So we just have to take each day as it comes and pivot when necessary, basically. And there might be other opportunities that come up where I'm literally today, I've sent off a parcel to somebody who's got a first birthday party, and why shouldn't they have a nice first birthday party? It's limited numbers, but actually they've had a lovely little package gone down with balloons, posters, prints, everything that looks really cool, and it's gone down. And again, I'm a bit of a tighty when it comes to things like weddings and events and presents. I hate people spending for the sake of spending, and it really winds me up. So even things like with the wedding industry, some people mention the word wedding and then the pupils go into like ding, ding, all the money. I'm more about the pina colada fund, and I will out and outright say to my couples, you don't need that. That can be brought to pina colada fund on the honeymoon when you can ching to what was. And so things like cards and things, it's a first birthday, that's like a real sentimental time. So I said, look, rather than buying a print and buying a card, just have a really nice card that doesn't necessarily say happy first birthday on it, and then you can frame it so it becomes that it's sustainable and it's evergreen and forever lasting kind of thing, and sentimental. So
that certainly is
to save the pennies. Yeah, save the pennies, pina colada.
Well, on that note,
yeah, let's have the pina colada.
Well, thank you ever so much for talking to us today. That's been really, really interesting to get your insights on business.
Enjoy it.